trapped in a dream. He's still trapped in a dream, I believe, because as we go dreaming, we keep creating the new dream. And so we keep going. I'm Coach Sandra, compassionate queen of straight talk. And today is in conversation number 3 with Frank. And we're really focusing around that very special ring that prison has. People don't know what to do with it. And I ask the inmates when I'm in prison, well, what did you think of prison before you came here? Never thought about it. Right. So give the rest of us a break. But from the outside, we're always curious. And I know with having gone into prison now for 17 years that I just, oh, no, I was in prison. Oh, no, I'm going to prison. Oh, I was there. And people say, what? Prison has a special ring to it. And because of prison having a special ring and a curiosity, Frank and I have both recognized that people need to know about prison. We have come together to talk about Sandra's prison, Frank's prison. Sandra's prison, Frank's prison. No, I've not been in prison. Welcome, Frank. How are you feeling today? And what's it been like having our conversations? Well, welcome.
Well, good afternoon here. It's beautiful weather here in Holland. And it's already, what's the time already? It's it's 42 past 4 in the afternoon. And it's really bright. I did a lot of work today, and I'm always, not preparing myself, but I'm always excited when I'm going to do the things with you, because after 26 years, I never talked about prison. And that's something completely new. And guess what? I'm not bothered at all to talk about prison anymore, because just like you say, it's good that people know what prison is all about. And yeah, we're going there because I think there is not much different for a lot of other people who are living in a prison with the door wide open at the moment, and it's scary. That's scaring me, but I didn't know going to prison, so let's see where it brings us.
It's amazing. Yes, I'm just going to say you're in Amsterdam, right? Amsterdam? Is that how you say it?
It's in the outside of Amsterdam. It's 10 minutes by car from Amsterdam.
And I slept in the streets in Amsterdam. We had our Volkswagen camper bus outside my husband's aunt's house, because they only had space for one couple. So my sister and her husband got the bed, and my husband and I pulled the little curtains in our Volkswagen camper bus and slept out in the Volkswagen.
That's a beautiful story. I like
was in Amsterdam.
And everything is possible in Amsterdam. It's such an unbelievable cultural city where everybody comes together, and it's freedom. It's really beautiful. Amsterdam is so famous about being yourself and be free and
the reality of the red light district, which we went through as well. Oh, I've got stories in Holland as well, and Germany when I was there. And I was just going to say, I'm near Toronto. I'm a couple hours out of Toronto, so my time is 10:45. So we're 6 hours different.
6 hours difference. Yeah.
Isn't that the magic of Zoom? And would we have thought about it when I was trapped in my prison and you were trapped in your prison? Did that even come to mind that we could be so global?
No, not at that time. How long is it already for me again? It's 27 years ago that I went to prison. So that was not on yet. So and you know, when the COVID hit 3 years ago, then I never been so much on Zooms and Clubhouse and speaking with everybody. And I met so many beautiful persons I would never have met in my life. And I've got more contacts now all over the world than people here in Holland.
Yes.
Yes.
And so that was a piece, even though COVID kind of put us into prisons, and people that allowed their minds to go into dark places really got into the loneliness and the abandonment issues and the locked away issues and started to experience their own prison. So that's why Sandra's prison is on the outside and Frank's prison is stories on the inside, even though, Frank, you had to break out of your mental prison over these last 20 years. And it's an amazing journey. I'm just going to go back to the article here just for a second. I loved this. In The Call of the Siren, Krans writes, "The siren laughs at conventions and restraints. She eats rules." And I loved that because I thought of both of you and I. Once we started to recognize prison for what it was, we were able to break out of that and eat the rules. Yeah. But we're going here. And so I feel in so many ways that we're not soulmates, but soul sister brother type of thing, because we've gone through it. And that is what we're up to here today, eating the rules and finding that we had lived in society's expectations of us and other people's expectations. And that's where the rules were coming from. So today we want to go through your journey inside the prison as much as you're willing to share, Frank. And we'll see how the healthy boundaries start to open up. So we're going to go there. I don't know if you know where you'd like to start. You're in prison last conversation, and you were in protective custody. And I know where we stopped. You were with the fellow who wrote the poem for you. Can you pick it up and take us from there?
Yes, I can pick it up from there. Because from there on, something happened in that prison, in Goulburn prison. And then, I still think, everything that is going to happen happened for a reason. And I saw something in Goulburn, and I was forced to speak about it. And I never spoke about it, and it's also not in the book. But there are a lot of Asian people in Goulburn, a lot of Asian, and they've got their own rules. And when you break that rule, there's only one thing that's going to happen. So at work, because I had to work, there was a guy sitting, and he owned some of the other inmates some cigarettes, but he didn't pay. And then in 1 minute he had 80 stabs. They stabbed him with 20 people 4 or 5 times each. And
for cigarettes. For cigarettes.
For cigarettes, for 1 packet of cigarettes. So, and that is so strange telling you this, because of course they all had it on camera, but they want me to say how it happened and how fast. But it is crazy. So you're working on a table, you look, and bam, 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 bam. It's already done. It's wow. And you think, where am I? But thinking about that, because I thought a lot about it, because I know we were going there. I had to put boundaries straight away. Again, make new boundaries. And there I decided, maybe it's time to really go on my own. Because all the psychologists were telling me, please stay as long as possible in the normal, what you can call normal system. Stay there, otherwise your mental state is going to be different.
Is
But
the normal, the general population, what we would call the
yeah, the
general?
normal population, you go to work and spend with other inmates, with
Okay.
everybody walking around, and you know. But because the moment you become isolated, you go in protection, and even from protection, I told the guards, lock my door. Every time I come back from work, lock my door, because I don't want to be all the time on that guard. I had no energy anymore to be 24/7 on guard, in the
Wow.
shower. I wanted to shower alone. I wanted to be on my own. And guess what? I was so used to be on my own because before I came to prison, I was already living in a fantasy world, a world where everything was fine. And you can find it in the book. I call it my Shadowland. And in my Shadowland, guess what? Everything is fine. Everything works out. All the things during the day in normal life that didn't work out, guess what? I played it again in my attic room, coming home, going upstairs, and played it again. So I was so good in doing that. So I made a good decision to tell everybody, please, I don't want to be, what's the next murder? I want to be involved with all the dramas. Leave me on my own. Give me something to work on. So please let me go out and go to the library on certain times. And they made me a full-time student. There are only 5 people in every part of the jail who get the title full-time student.
Wow.
And that was, I think, a lifesaver for me. I became a full-time student. During certain times when the inmates were to work, I go to the library and I had computers, everything. I had an English teacher who corrected all my letters I wrote to politicians, to lawyers and everything. And she helped me with Trapped in a Dream, the first small part of Trapped in a Dream. And she corrected a lot of things. And oh my God. And I could read the newspapers. And oh my God.
You know what I'm hearing here, Frank, is the power. There were 2 things. You had your Shadowland, where you took whatever happened for the day and replayed it in your mind and made it all okay.
Yeah.
We can reframe and make it all okay, which can give us some peace and quiet inside. The second thing that you said was just lock the door. Lock the door. And for us on the outside, that would be when we would just go into even if it has to be the bathroom, if that's where the lock is on the door, go in there and have some quiet time. Take time in the bathtub to soak and reflect. And we have to find our quiet space. Whatever all is happening, you were in a very dangerous environment, always on guard. But do you know, when we're out here and we're walking on eggshells, we're always on guard. It's exhausting. It's exhausting. And so to be able to reframe that, and there you were in prison, recognizing, like, lock the door so I can relax.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I just wanted to talk a little on Sandra's prison there. So looking at the lessons we're learning about being inside the prison, which is a very curious place to be. So what happened next, Frank?
Well, there I probably start to really look real life and Frank's fantasy world.
Yes.
I started to recognize what I was doing was not the real world.
Wow.
So this time the door was really locked, and normally I did it at home, and everything, I played again, everything was fine. But this time I knew I'm doing it because I need to do it. And outside prison, that was my life. So I was living the wrong story. I was not in real life. This time I was in real life because prison, oh my God, is real life.
Mm-hmm.
But still, I knew now, this time I do this to give myself more space to look, who am I? Why am I always running away from the disappointments of life?
Wow.
Go to my attic room and make it beautiful again. And because,
Yes.
so there, the boxing match between Frank, who wants to still live in a pink world, and Frank, who's now arrived in real world. So I had to make a decision. Who am I? Where am I going? And I didn't. This time I know what I'm doing today is all because I need to protect myself. So make a wall, but I know on the other side, when I come out, I'm stronger. I can be there because I know what I'm doing. Why am I doing it? And when I'm doing it. And just like you said, sometimes we really need to go to the bus stop and sit there and for 1 hour on ourselves. And, we need that. But we still have that connection with the real world. But for me, that was never the case. It was always.
And I think as you talked about putting that wall up, the walls that would be like our boundaries. We put the wall up. But I think when I was hurting so badly and walking on eggshells for so many decades, I went from home walking on eggshells because I was the baby of the family. So, what am I going to please everybody? And then I went into a marriage where I did the same thing, walking on eggshells, like trying to be that superwoman, and it can't be done. And so those were not healthy boundaries. Those were walls that kept me hurting in behind. And what I think I was just hearing you as you went from fantasy world, which would be the walking on eggshells, because that's not real either, to the reality of being here in our bodies. I think what I heard you saying that now a healthy boundary is like putting a wall up, but the wall is not cemented shut. We can open that and close it. When you're with your loved ones and your family, you can open up. And when you're with people who are needing more time to develop themselves, we need a little stronger boundary. So I think the healthy boundary is, instead of that wall that kept us locked before, we're in control of when do we open the, what do you call that, the moat? Over the moat, the drawbridge. we can do drawbridges. How did that start working for you, Frank?
Well, it's funny because we know Dr. Marina, and what I learned from Dr. Marina straight away is the story we tell ourselves about ourselves when nobody's listening.
Mm.
And that's funny because I did that always in my attic room. I was always, oh my God, I was a star in the NBA. I was beating Roger Federer. I was always winning. But now I know, if you want to get out there, you have to make the steps. I have to get out, and otherwise, and that's why it all came together, because my Dream Driver program is all about that story you tell yourself about yourself when nobody's listening. If you want to become that person, you know that you have to look for the next no. So many no's you have to find to finally find that yes, that belongs to you.
Mm.
So you can lock yourself up in a prison with the door closed or open in the bathroom. It doesn't matter. But if you want to become the person you talk about when nobody's listening, that person that really wants to be happy, you and me, we want to be happy doing what we love, we have to go out. and we have to look for the next no. And it was really funny. I went to a network event 2 days ago, and I said, in that pitch, I said, you know why I'm here? Looking for my next disappointment, the next no. And they all looked at me. We are networking here. I said, well, how many times do you go to a network event and somebody says to you, oh, I've got something for you. Oh, let's give business cards. And guess what? Nothing happens. Nothing happens. And you know how many business cards I have here? Maybe 300-400. And nothing came out of it. They were also full of, oh yeah, we can work together. We can do this. We can do this. Well, it's going to be the next disappointment. But if you don't go and build up that resume with those cards, one day there is a card, there is that phone call. Somebody who says to you, hey, I'm Nick Vujicic. You want to speak on my event? That can happen, but then you have to collect all those other business cards. All those disappointments, you have to let them come. Because you need maybe 100, 200 no's to find that real yes that belongs to you. And I know for sure
that the fantasy world in the end of it all, what we would call daydreaming, continues as a daydream until we put some action on it and actually go out there.
So we have to act. I have to go to networks. I have to speak with people. And now I know I need to take that business card because people love to give business cards and blah, 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 blah. But 90%, nothing will happen.
But you know, on the other hand, how quickly did you reach out to each of them to collaborate? And that's, you know, like we collect the 20, but do we go back and connect with 18 of the 20? Not likely.
No, but no, exactly the same. I'm exactly the same. The following up is poor, but I try. I did from the 10 cards Thursday. I connected already with 8 people on LinkedIn and everything, and 2 people said, "Oh, I see you on LinkedIn now, and shall we do a coffee? Shall we do together? Oh my God, your energy was amazing, Frank. Can we do something together?" And you know, it will happen. But when? Please don't make yourself crazy by thinking it's going to happen at that coffee break. And think, no, enjoy the ride. And no, when it's a no, guess what? You're closer to your best yes. So collect them and be still open that, because so many people, you know, we all know that the graveyards are the most expensive grounds. All those people who had that talent and never made it through, because after a few no's, they thought, okay, maybe it's not for me. Maybe it's, you know, they didn't go for the next no. They stopped because they had enough of no. And that's what I see. Speaking with 80% of the people, I told you already from that research in Australia on the 1,000 people who were dying in their last days, 80% said, I wish I had lived the life I wanted to live. And I had to figure it out. How did this come?
And you got 4 years of free room and board. 4 years and 3 months of free room and board to figure it out. What were some of the more of the experiences as you were unraveling who I am in this fantasy world? Was, this is the real world. Now what am I going to do? We have another 5 minutes or so before we'll wind it up and decide what our next talk will be. But what were some of the prison experiences that helped you get really clear in that real world?
Well, the newspapers from the Dutch guard. There was a Dutch guard there, and I told you about that guy who left the door open. because he knew I couldn't go nowhere. But still, he stepped over his boundaries to let me a little bit out. But he knew it was not out. It was still in jail. I had to go to 2 other fences. So, but he took that risk that somebody said, hey, you didn't close the door, Mr. Van Boekel. Did you forgot? Or he probably, what I now think, he probably reported it and said, hey, listen, this guy is a good guy, give him some space. And so sometimes, of course, you've got boundaries. When you are a guard, you've got the keys, you know the rules. You have to know, look at the book, look at the faces. Yes, he's in, lock the door. And next morning, somebody else has to unlock him and look if he's still alive or everything. But he put the boundaries a little bit
beyond.
Further. Yeah, and that's so beautiful. And the conversations I had with the guards, with the nurses, they were
psychiatrists, I guess.
They are priceless, and they are all in my book because, oh my God, those people from Prisoners Fellowship, from all those people who fought for me all the time. So that experience is beautiful because if I had not come to prison, Sandra, I'm going to tell you this, then I was already 26 years not on this planet anymore. Wow. 100%. So now I can say prison saved my life.
Prison saved your life.
Saved my life.
And I think, again, Sandra's prison, all those decisions and protections that I put up as a little child, those walls to stay safe, protected me as a child so I could get on. But then as an adult, they became cemented in and broke me. So finally, as an adult, when I was finally ready to say, it's too much, I was able to burst them open. But that bursting them open meant that I was broken and my hands were empty. And from that point, I was able to start building who I am without the restriction. And I think that's what I'm hearing you, because you said you had some mental issues and then you were on wrong medications and quite a journey through finding your way all through that. And that is the brokenness that I see, that finally you were in a place where you needed to be. So through the
I had no choice anymore. I couldn't run away anymore. I couldn't run away anymore. So then Mr. Van Boekel was there, Sister Mary was there, Prisoners Fellowship was there, and all people who are living in the real world woke Frank up in prison with the door closed.
Wow.
And I now say, that's why I wrote the book, because I think change, so many people change when change is the only thing that is left. But that's wrong. That's really wrong, because there is a different way. There is a different way. When you create a stronger team around you, when you meet those people as Mr. Van Boekel, Sister Mary, all those other guards, you need to find those 4 or 5 people in your life who can really help you to change. Who are going to say, hey, listen, Frank, you are okay. We know you're different, you think different, but you are okay the way you are. You don't have to pretend anymore. You don't have to play anymore. You don't have to fantasize anymore. You are good enough. And I heard that so many times of the nurses. The nurses all loved me. And it's yeah. And you will see that in the book. You will see that unfolding of prison. And I'm glad that I was in isolation, because that gives me more time. Because if I was in normal, you have to be 12 hours a day on your guard. And when you're outside at work and everything. But for me, as being a student, doing what I love and meeting the people who really give me that, who is Frank, and all the time that positive thing from, hey, if somebody has to get out, it is you, Frank. It is you, and you deserve this, but do the work and you will find your way out. And guess what? It happened.
Wow. Yes, you were supposed to be 11 years and you were out after 4 years and 3 months.
Exactly. So I was ready then. That's what I thought, by the way. We're not going there, but I thought I was ready to go. But
And you know what? You just made little goosebumps for me, because even though I had my own prisons on the outside, and I ended up going to prison out of curiosity, but I knew out of the curiosity, it's not a freak show to go in there. I knew, even though out of curiosity, there was something for me to learn. And then I stayed, because I won't take volunteers in with me unless they are committed. Because you don't go in and just drop a word and sprinkle a little dust and leave again. I'm committed, and I learned so much. But out of what you're telling me, when the guys say, no, you make a difference, the volunteers, the people coming in from the outside, bringing that reality in from the outside, and still loving them anyhow, not even knowing what they've done. I don't know what they've done, because that would bias me.
yeah,
Later on, once I know what they've done, by that time I've already recognized that was that 10 seconds in some cases, or that 10 months, or that whatever, sick time, whatever it was that happened. And here they are, with free room and board.
Yeah.
Whatever that was, that's not their whole life. That's not the whole thing. That's not the whole story. And the world is blessed that Frank Soonius has found himself outside, found yourself in the prison, discovered yourself, and that has not tied you up and out of life over this time of the stories you're telling yourself when nobody's listening. That is so powerful. That's part of the work I do with the positive mental fitness as well, is to, what are we talking, what are we telling ourselves? We're tearing ourselves down faster than any world will do it. And to be able to bring ourselves over to the light, come to the light.
For me, that was really the case. The prisoners' fellowships, people were amazing, and I'm a Christian, and I always believed. But oh my God, I was angry at that fellow upstairs. I was really, really angry, because I thought he left me, but it was only for a short while. He left me for a short while, and then he took me back, and he took me back where I should be already such a long time. But I did it the difficult way, and that's why I wrote Trapped in a Dream, because I think there is an easier way.
Actually, I'm going to just argue that, give you a little challenge. He didn't leave you at all. For me, he is the power, the higher power, the universe, not some God sitting on a throne up there that says anything. For me, it's the universe and the energy and the source. But that's okay. Whatever we call that God, that's something bigger than us, it doesn't leave. We wander off. We have to just wander back and say, oh, I forgot where I was supposed to be here. I'm going to come back to some wisdom and sage.
I always say it like this, it's those deep waters he creates for us, so that we have to swim. And it's that saying that when you ask God in your individual life, why was it so difficult? Please, why did you do this? Why those deep waters? And then he gives this simple answer: because your enemies can't swim.
I love that. Your enemies.
You lose your enemies is doubt, fear, insecurity. If you can go to that deep water and find the calm water, the blue, beautiful water, you have lost doubt, insecurity, failure. You lost that.
Isn't that beautiful? For me, when it's all chaos around me, I learn to go into the eye of the storm. So my thing is less about the water, because I can drown really easy. I tried drowning a couple of times just by accident, but I mean, I tried drowning. I can't swim very well.
Okay. Because
So-
you can't drown yourself, by the way, that you know that. Some
No.
people say, I tried to drown myself in the bathtub. It's not possible. It is not possible, because Nick Vujicic has no arms and no legs, and he tried to drown himself when he was 8 years old. And guess what?
He floated.
Yeah, he stayed up. He tried, but you can't. Or you put some weights on it and everything, but
Yeah.
you cannot drown, because your body is telling you that you have to go up.
Breathe. I want to breathe. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really funny when Nick Vujicic says, I couldn't even drown myself. I have no arms or legs. And when you hear somebody saying that, oh my God, it's...
But then we get to understand the desperation that every one of us comes to desperation door. And then if we're not able to kill ourselves, drown ourselves, do whatever it is, well, I just want to be out of here. We don't even have the courage to do that kind of, then we beat ourselves up some more. Like, I guess I better just learn how to live.
Exactly. That's exactly after my third attempt. It was one big mess. And I said to myself, well, please tell me. There must be something why you're doing this to me, because I'm still here. Come on. Please give me a break. And then it really hit me. It really hit me.
Will that be a good place? I'd like to have that where we start next time, because I know that you've also got pages that are written because some guard gave you a pencil stub, knowing you couldn't do too much damage to yourself. You might poke your eyes out, but what else are you going to do with it? You're not going to kill yourself with it. It's not a tool of destruction. But that story fascinates me if you're willing to share it. But I think that's where we need to go next. If that works for you,
it's the birth of Trapped in a Dream. It's
okay.
Incredible that this guy did this, because he saw something in me that I have lost already 30 years before that. He saw something. He couldn't stand that I had no contact with myself and with nobody anymore. So he tried to do his little part, and guess what? That was a big part.
Okay, I'm going to stop right there, because that's the opening of our next one.
I know.
He tried to do his little part, but that was the big part, and that's what we'll call the next conversation with Frank. Frank, thank you so much. For these conversations are just so open and unusual. And even though I had a couple of people say, Sandra, that's not an interview, you're talking too much. That encouraged me to say, okay, we're doing conversations, because it is so critical. I think we're such a team in terms of prison on the outside, prison on the inside, and prison on the physical inside, but the prison inside yourself. Like we're masters at locking ourselves up, beating ourselves up. And you and I are on this world with all our experience to help people free themselves from all that BS. Thank you so much, Frank. Trapped in a Dream. I'm Coach Sandra, Compassionate Queen of Straight Talk. Next Friday, back with Frank. Bye, all. Bye, Frank.
Bye-bye.